There are places on Earth that simply shouldn't exist, at least not with the precision, alignment, and sheer brilliance they display. Structures so ancient that modern engineers still scratch their heads trying to understand how they were built, and by whom. Some of these sites defy calculations, ignore geographic limitations, and seem to carry a level of intelligence that doesn't match the era in which they appeared. And the most unsettling part is this: many of them are hiding in plain sight, waiting to reveal stories that could rewrite everything we think we know about ancient civilizations. It's funny how some landscapes look like they were sketched by hands from another era, as if time itself left a few unfinished drafts scattered around the planet. And if someone told you that a handful of these places not only exist, but are hidden on the very same Earth you wake up on every single day, there's one question that quietly hangs in the air and refuses to leave. What if there are places so baffling that even modern engineers can't fully explain them? That mix of awe and mystery is exactly what turns anyone into a hunter of hidden wonders. Among these destinations, there's one that stirs the collective imagination like few others. Deep in the thick jungles of Southeast Asia, researchers uncovered an ancient complex that seems ready to rewrite entire chapters of our own history. These are structures that push logic to its limits, as if an ancient civilization had left a message waiting for the future to decode. And before you go any further, it comes with a gentle warning. Some of these incredible places will challenge everything you think you know about architecture, time, and humanity. And of course, here comes that friendly nudge. Which one of these places have you visited or still dream of checking off your list? Many of them became bucket list destinations precisely because they trigger feelings no picture can really capture. And right before the journey begins, there's a final heads up. A pattern interrupt that sets the stage. But before we reach number one, hold tight. Because some of these places will push the limits of what you believe is possible. And it's in that small pause that Asia's forgotten giants step forward, carrying far more secrets than they appear to. In the heart of Cambodia, Angkor Wat feels more like an ancient dream than a real destination. When researchers mapped the region using laser technology, they uncovered something most people thought was impossible: an entire metropolis hidden beneath the vegetation, far larger than anyone ever imagined. Overnight, the temple took on new life and became one of the greatest World Heritage enigmas ever studied. Ordinary travelers who arrive there feel the same jolt, as if they were stepping through a silent portal. What's even more intriguing is that, despite its enormous scale, Angkor Wat never tries to show off. It simply exists, defying logic, while ruins, canals, and invisible roadways reveal an urban system that seemed lost forever. Some visitors describe the moment they watched the sunrise behind the towers as a reality check, almost like something shifting inside. And when that feeling hits, many end up adding the temple to the kind of travel goals that actually make sense in adult life. But the real cherry on top is the architectural precision, something even modern engineers struggle to replicate. Studies suggest that every block was placed with such meticulous intention that it becomes almost unsettling. And just when your mind tries to wrap itself around that ancient brilliance, another unavoidable question appears. How did even older civilizations carve entire mountains into perfect steps? That's when the Banaue terraces start calling the viewer by name. High in the mountains of the Philippines, the Banaue terraces feel less like the work of human hands and more like something shaped by divine patience. Carved around 2,000 years ago, they still function thanks to an irrigation system that remains active to this day. A detail that leaves countless experts scratching their heads. For travelers, the first impression is pure astonishment. Miles of green steps lining up as if someone had sketched a staircase straight into the sky. It's no wonder the place holds multiple mentions among the world's most iconic UNESCO World Heritage Sites. What's most captivating is that these terraces weren't built by kings or powerful empires, but by ordinary farmers who understood the land better than anyone. They mastered steep slopes, loose stones, and deep valleys without machines, relying only on knowledge passed down from one generation to the next. Once visitors grasp that, something shifts. That impossible world suddenly starts making sense. And almost without noticing, they've added the destination to their own bucket list destinations. Some say that walking along those terraces feels like brushing the past with your fingertips. Every curve and every uneven step tells a story of survival, ingenuity, and respect for the earth. And right when travelers think they've seen everything humanity can build in harmony with nature, a bigger surprise appears. A place where mountains seem to dissolve into the water and where dragons are part of the cultural explanation. Halong Bay looks like a scene pulled from a story someone forgot to finish. Hundreds of stone islands rise from the water like pillars from another world, each with its own shape, as if an invisible artist had carved every curve by hand. According to Vietnamese legend, a colossal dragon once descended from the sky and struck the earth, forming the mountains that now tower over the sea. That mythical touch is one of the reasons so many travelers see this place as one of the great hidden wonders still standing. But Halong impresses far beyond its landscape. Floating villages where families live in houses that move with the tide turn the whole setting into something almost cinematic. Anyone who spends time with the locals notices a rhythm of life that feels borrowed from another era. Boats that work as schools, markets that drift with the wind, a quietness that speaks louder than noise. That combination is exactly what makes this region one of Asia's most unforgettable world wonders experiences. What's fascinating is how Halong blends myth, nature, and culture in a way no other place can really imitate. Every island and every sweep of emerald water gives you the feeling of sailing through a living map. And just when travelers are fully immersed, a bridge opens to the next mystery in Europe. There are fortresses so unlikely that even emperors questioned their own power when they saw them. Mont Saint-Michel is the kind of place that seems to bend the rules of physics just for fun. In a matter of hours, it shifts from a remote island to a fully accessible peninsula, as if nature were performing its own choreography. This tide show has been an attraction for centuries, and it's easy to see why. The whole landscape transforms right in front of you, creating the feeling that you've stepped into one of Europe's most intriguing and incredible places. First-time visitors often let out a nervous laugh, half expecting the castle to float away at any moment. But the real secret of Mont Saint-Michel isn't just the scenery. It's what the place stirs emotionally. Walking through its narrow alleys while the Atlantic wind pushes old stories against the walls makes anyone feel part of something bigger. Studies suggest that medieval monks saw the site as a spiritual gateway, and in a way, that feeling still lingers. It's no surprise that many consider it a World Heritage treasure as meaningful as the great temples of the East. And it's exactly this contrast, the eternal versus the ever-changing, that makes Mont Saint-Michel unforgettable. It proves you don't always need height or size to dominate an entire landscape. Sometimes just existing in the right place is enough. And once visitors realize that, a new question starts to form. If a castle can appear and disappear with the tides, what about an entire city carved into the heart of the desert? That's when Petra starts calling for attention. Petra is one of those cities that makes any traveler fall silent for a few seconds. The entrance through the narrow Siq, with walls rising hundreds of feet high, builds a kind of anticipation that feels almost theatrical. And when the treasury finally appears at the end of the corridor, carved in light and shadow, it's impossible not to feel that same mix of awe and reverence that stunned explorers centuries ago. Many describe Petra as one of those bucket list destinations that truly live up to the hype. But the most impressive detail isn't the rose-colored facade, it's the engineering hidden behind it. Studies suggest the Nabateans created a water collection and distribution system capable of sustaining an entire metropolis in the middle of the desert. Hidden channels, dams, reservoirs, and techniques that still puzzle specialists today reveal how this ancient civilization mastered engineering in a way that feels almost unbelievable. And that mastery is exactly what makes Petra one of the most studied hidden wonders in human history. But Petra is also movement. It's a journey. With every turn of the sick, visitors feel like they're following a story written in stone. And when they realize that 95% of the city is still buried under the sand, a different feeling kicks in, as if the canyon were offering only a small preview of what remains undiscovered. That spark of curiosity leads to a simple question. What would it feel like to live in a place where homes seem suspended between the sky and the sea? The Amalfi Coast delivers exactly that answer. The Amalfi Coast is the kind of destination that seems to defy gravity. Colorful houses stack themselves along the cliffs as if someone tried to build an entire city using nothing but balance and stubbornness. From above, the Mediterranean shines like a living painting, creating a contrast that instantly makes travelers understand why so many see it as one of Europe's top travel goals. That first view is always the same, a deep breath followed by an involuntary smile. But the charm of this place isn't just in the dramatic slopes. For centuries, the region has grown giant lemons with an aroma so intense they became part of the local identity. You find them in deserts, drinks, perfumes, and even in stories passed down through generations. Researchers say the area's unique microclimate helped shape one of the most iconic culinary traditions in the continent. And that blend of flavor, sea and altitude, turns Amalfi into one of the most beloved, incredible places among travelers. With every curve along the coastal road, you get the feeling of drifting through different worlds, a feat that only adds to the region's allure. But just when visitors believe they've reached the peak of human beauty, blending perfectly with nature, something unexpected appears, nature itself taking the lead as the ultimate artist, shaping landscapes no architect could ever imagine. And that's exactly what the next destination reveals. The Salar de Uyuni is one of those places that makes anyone question their own eyes. During the rainy season, a thin layer of water turns the desert into a mirror, so perfect that sky and ground become impossible to tell apart. It's one of those extremely rare landscapes that travelers often rank among the planet's great visual World Heritage wonders, even though there's nothing man-made involved. The first reaction is almost always the same, a quiet, automatic wow. Walking there feels like floating above the clouds, as if the horizon decided to vanish just to mess with your sense of direction. Studies suggest that the sheer immensity of the place distorts depth perception, creating little visual tricks that end up in iconic photos. It's no exaggeration to say the Salt Flat is one of the most photogenic hidden wonders on Earth, a natural stage that makes even an ordinary person feel like the star of a movie. But what truly surprises people is how light transforms everything. In a matter of minutes, the bright blue sky can shift to gold, then pink, then violet, as if the Salar had its own moods. And just when travelers think they've reached the peak of natural beauty, an inevitable question appears. What if there were an ecosystem so vast and complex it could be seen from space? The answer lies in the living waters of the Great Barrier Reef. The Great Barrier Reef is a powerful reminder that Earth holds masterpieces no human could ever design, stretching for thousands of miles along Australia's coast. It's so vast that researchers say you can see it from space as a bright streak across the ocean. That mind-boggling scale is why so many travelers see it as one of the most extraordinary natural world wonders on the planet. Seeing it up close changes the way you understand marine life forever. But the most striking part isn't the size, it's the feeling of standing before something alive. Every reef pulses with colors that look like abstract paintings, and tiny fish weave through the corals like actors in a silent theater. Studies show that climate change has been affecting this ecosystem at an alarming pace, leaving pale patches where a vibrant underwater rainbow used to thrive. It creates this emotional contrast that's hard to shake off, extreme beauty side by side with deep fragility. And when visitors finally pull away from that colorful immensity, something interesting happens. Their minds start searching for other places where nature also writes its own rules, but in a way that's explosive, unpredictable, and almost unsettling. Then comes the question that opens the next mystery. How is it possible for an entire landscape to breathe, shake, and wake you up with jets of boiling water? That place has a name: Yellowstone. Yellowstone is the kind of place that makes Earth feel like a restless, living organism. Every few minutes, Old Faithful shoots a column of boiling water into the sky, almost as if it were reminding everyone that a natural clock has been ticking there for centuries. That mix of beauty and tension turns the park into one of the most surprising travel goals in North America. Anyone who visits leaves with the feeling that the planet is breathing literally. But behind the photogenic geysers lies a detail no one ever forgets. Yellowstone sits on top of an active supervolcano. Researchers say the caldera beneath the park is so massive it challenges traditional estimates of depth and pressure. Even so, the place radiates a strange calm, almost contradictory, as if nature were balancing opposites at every second. That contrast between serenity and raw power is what places Yellowstone among the great natural World Heritage icons. The best part is that the park works as a quiet reminder that there's still a lot about this planet we don't fully understand. Steaming trails, warm rivers, mineral scents. Everything feels like it's telling an unfinished story. And when visitors start sensing that mystery pulsing through the ground, a new question rises. If these places already amaze us, what about the secrets even UNESCO doesn't fully reveal? Banff is the kind of place that makes you feel like you just stepped into a hyper-realistic painting. The lakes, shifting between turquoise blue and crystal green, look digitally edited, until you get close enough to realize it's all real. The mix of towering mountains and dense forests makes countless travelers rank the park among their favorites. World Heritage spots, especially anyone craving real contact with nature. Banff carries that calm, gentle adventure vibe, at least until the first unexpected encounter. That calm disappears fast when someone runs into a bear just a few feet away or notices fresh wolf tracks along the trail. Locals even joke that Banff is too beautiful to be safe. Researchers explain that the region is home to one of the highest concentrations of wildlife in North America, which turns even the simplest hike into a tiny test of courage. That blend of beauty and risk is exactly what puts Banff high on the bucket list destinations of anyone who loves real adrenaline. But what stands out the most is the sense of humility in the face of such overwhelming scenery. Every turn of the road reveals a new lake, a new peak, a new silence that almost feels like it's speaking to you. And just when visitors think they've reached the peak of altitude and challenge, a provocative question appears. What if there were an entire city built to align light, shadow, and ritual with millimetric precision? That's exactly what Chichén Itzá brings to the table. Chichén Itzá is one of those cities that feels like it was built with a ruler, a compass, and a touch of supernatural precision. During the equinox, sunlight creates the illusion of a serpent sliding down the pyramid of Kukulkan, a spectacle so perfect that many visitors believe the ancient Maya had astronomical knowledge far beyond what anyone expected. That moment turns the site into one of the most unforgettable world wonders in the Americas, especially for those who witness the phenomenon in person. But the city holds other fascinating details as well. Like the massive ball court where rituals and competitions shaped entire destinies. Researchers suggest the place held deep political and spiritual importance, working as an arena where decisions that molded Maya society were made. Its flawless acoustics, which produce a distinct echo even across long distances, leave travelers stunned. It's in this blend of mystery and engineering that Chichén Itzá becomes one of the great lingering legacies of ancient civilizations the world is still trying to decode. And when visitors walk away from the archaeological site, it feels like they've stepped through a living chapter of history. Every stone, every shadow, every echoed sound seems to hold an unrevealed secret. And in that atmosphere of wonder, the natural transition appears. a monument born from the deepest kind of love that became an eternal symbol for the entire planet. The Taj Mahal is one of those places that makes your heart slow down for a moment. Built by Shah Jahan in honor of Mumtaz Mahal, the monument carries a love story that crossed centuries and still moves people from every culture. More than 20,000 artisans worked for 22 years to turn white marble into pure poetry. It's no surprise that the site ranks among the most admired World Heritage landmarks on the planet. One detail that mesmerizes visitors is the way the Taj changes color throughout the day. At sunrise, it blushes in soft pink tones. By noon, it glows like a white flame. Under the moonlight, it takes on a faint blue hue, as if it were breathing in sync with the sky. Studies suggest the effect comes from the way minerals in the marble interact with natural light, a spectacle that makes every visit unique. Anyone who experiences it in person can't help but feel they're standing before one of the most delicate, incredible places in the world. And there's still a structural secret most people only notice when someone points it out. The minarets were built slightly tilted outward, an intentional design meant to protect the mausoleum in case of earthquakes. It's a touch of genius that proves precision can be romantic too. And once visitors take in all that grandeur, an inevitable question appears. How can someone explore so many extraordinary places without draining their wallet in the process? Every World Heritage Site seems to carry two stories, the official one, and the one that rarely shows up in tourist brochures. Some of these places hold details so intriguing that even experts prefer to discuss them in a quieter tone. For years, researchers have been investigating sensitive points in several UNESCO World Heritage Sites that challenge simple explanations. It feels like reading a book where half the pages are still sealed shut. One of the most talked about cases is the Taj Mahal, which structural surveys suggest may be sinking a few inches every decade. In Angkor Wat, there are tunnels that have never been fully explored, hinting at engineering far more advanced than most people realize. And Petra, monumental as it looks, still has about 95% of its city buried beneath the sand, literally invisible. Meanwhile, the Great Barrier Reef appears in recurring alerts because environmental changes are threatening its vitality at a worrying pace. These are the kinds of details that completely reshape the way we see these places. What's most fascinating is how these hidden layers turn well-known destinations into real hidden wonders still under ongoing interpretation. They show that no story is ever truly complete, and that part of the magic comes from what we don't see. And once that realization hits, a natural question rises. If these secrets alone can fire up our imagination, what about the places where adventure, altitude, and adrenaline blend together in a way that feels almost cinematic? What most people don't realize is that visiting some of the world's most breathtaking destinations doesn't need to be a distant dream. In many of them, the low season brings surprisingly affordable prices while the crowds vanish like magic. That's when hotels drop their rates and airlines launch flash deals. For anyone willing to plan with a bit of patience, visiting certain world wonders can cost less than a weekend in the usual tourist-packed cities. Another key detail is understanding how each place works. In Petra, for example, arriving early avoids long lines and gives you rare photos with no one else around. On the Amalfi Coast, staying in nearby villages can cut your lodging costs in half, literally. In Banff, many travelers save money by using weekly passes for the local transit system. And for those on a really tight budget, there are free virtual tours that let you explore bucket list destinations without leaving home. The main point is simple. With the right strategy, anyone can turn their travel goals into real experiences. Small choices, like flying on less popular days, booking ahead, or choosing family-run accommodations, make a huge difference. And once that realization hits, travelers notice that the world isn't as distant as it seems, which leads to the final step of this journey: understanding why these places continue to stir human imagination, century after century. The most extraordinary places on the planet keep reminding us that we still understand very little about those who came before us. Every inexplicable structure points to levels of ingenuity that challenge any modern analysis. And the question that lingers is simple. If they were capable of that in the past, what else is still waiting to be discovered about our future? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep exploring the mysteries, origins, and hidden engineering that shaped human history.